For 2 years now, I believed that intuitive eating was the answer. No calorie counting, no restrictions, nothing. But here's the truth, my expectations weren't realistic, so why did I stop? It's not what you think, so let me explain. Hi, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Nadia and I focus on finding balance in life, wellness and personal growth. Today I want to share something personal and important, and it is why I stopped eating intuitively and started counting calories mindfully, and by doing that how I'm integrating that into my self-care and wellness routine while staying true to my values of balance. Now I know that this might sound like a contradiction, since calorie counting and balance do sound like complete opposites. But what I've learned is that if done mindfully, calorie counting can be a useful tool without feeling restrictive or taking away from self-love and balance. In this video, I'll share how I'm using calorie counting as a mindful tool rather than a rigid rule, and how it fits into my broader self-care journey. This video is all about sharing a personal experience and what worked for me. So let's start with intuitive eating. About 2 years ago, I started my journey with intuitive eating, and I wanted to do it to break free from dieting and just find a healthier relationship with food for myself. I learned so much about listening to my hunger and satiety cues, and it literally transformed the way that I viewed food. So my decision to stop eating intuitively is not at all from the things that I've learned or me not thinking that it works. A few things that happened for me while eating intuitively are I stopped binge eating, I didn't look at food anymore as good or bad, and maybe the biggest thing of all is that I actually realized that if I listen to my body, to my hunger and satiety cues, I don't gain weight. I always thought that if I would listen to my body, I would just gain weight forever and it wouldn't stop. But eating intuitively actually taught me that that is not true. If you actually listen to your body, listen to your hunger and satiety cues, that's not gonna happen. Those things that I learned from eating intuitively changed my life, and that's also the reason why I would encourage anyone watching this video to try eating intuitively and to go through a journey like that yourself before even trying anything else, because the things that I learned from that experience were why I feel confident to actually go into counting calories now and not feel overwhelmed and not feel like I'm restricting. Because I think that if I didn't have the journey of eating intuitively, this wouldn't feel healthy. This would not feel the way it does now, because I have done calorie counting before and it wasn't very good for me. So I will get into the doubts and things about calorie counting that I had and you might have, so stay tuned. But basically I first want to go into why I actually started counting calories and what my reasons were for that. The biggest thing it came down to was my expectations for intuitive eating. So I did always hear that you shouldn't think about intuitive eating as a way to lose weight or to change your body, but I kind of didn't believe it. I kind of still hoped in the back of my mind that I would lose weight and I would just change my body, and it didn't happen in the way that I wanted it to. So my expectations just weren't right. It gave me a lot of different things which I could have never hoped for and are great and amazing, and I love that I learned those things, like not binge eating anymore, because that was one of the biggest things that were happening to me at the time. So I'm very grateful for that, but my expectations still weren't right when I started eating intuitively. So I still believe intuitive eating is an incredible tool and has amazing guidelines and things to focus on. So that's what I'm doing right now with calorie counting. I am counting calories, but I'm also still integrating the things that I learned while I was eating intuitively. So with that approach, I was able to lose 5 kilos, and I am actually quite happy that I could do it in a way that doesn't feel restrictive and doesn't make me feel like I'm completely ignoring myself and my body's needs. But I also want to be very clear that this might not be for everyone, especially if you have a history of just being a bit obsessive with food and not having gone through intuitive eating or just working through all of these things. I don't know if I would recommend it. So if you actually want to do this, I would still recommend going through intuitive eating and experiencing all of that for yourself, because like I said, I don't think I would have been able to actually understand everything that I'm doing right now without eating intuitively. So I did want to mention the doubts that I had when I started calorie counting, because like many of you probably do, it worried me that it might lead me back to unhealthy ways of just viewing food and thinking about food, and just unhealthy behaviors that I went away from when I started eating intuitively. But here's the thing, I'm not the same person that I was before I started eating intuitively. I did not know the things that I know now, and I did not learn the lessons that I learned during that journey. And I feel like without that, it could get pretty restrictive and pretty obsessive. But I learned to take care of myself and my body and listen to it. And you can't unlearn that just because you start counting calories again. I made it a goal of mine that I would listen to my body. I would still implement the things that I learned from my intuitive eating journey, because I don't want to go back to how it was before. I don't want to be restrictive. I don't want to get to a point where it's unhealthy. I did tell myself that it can take however long it has to take. The main thing is that it's not restrictive. So now, how do I actually count calories mindfully? What am I doing? First, I always listen to my hunger and satiety cues. No matter what the calorie count says on my app, I always eat. That's as simple as that. I do not want to complicate that. If I'm hungry, I'm gonna eat. There's gonna be days that you're more hungry than others, and you're still gonna lose weight if you listen to your body. Second, I don't categorize foods into good or bad. I eat everything just like I did when I was eating intuitively, because I know that balance is key, because otherwise you cannot sustain it. Third, I do not track obsessively. For example, I usually track breakfast and lunch, but not always dinner, and I don't weigh everything obsessively. I just more so guess the things that I'm consuming, and also I don't track veggies because it's just, yeah, like I said, a bit too obsessive for me in that way. And finally, I use calorie counting as a flexible guideline. It's not a hard line of eating exactly that amount of calories. If I'm a bit over one day or a bit under another day, that's okay. Like before, the first time that I did count calories, even if I was under, I would eat even though I wasn't really hungry. So that's not the point either, because sometimes you're not as hungry and you still eat because the calories say that you can. And I'm also trying to avoid that so that I'm still listening to my hunger. Now, before I get deeper, I want to hear from you. Have you experienced something similar before? What are you doing to kind of balance your health goals with also not restricting, and like I said, being balanced, living a balanced life, self-care? Let me know in the comments. I would really love to know from you what you're doing, and I'd love to read your thoughts and experiences. So now, how am I integrating self-care and self-love into all of this? One of the most important things that I've learned is self-compassion. So it's not about being perfect, it's just about progress. It's about giving your best and taking time, going slowly, because it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. You have to look into the future. You don't want to do this for like 3 months and then stop and then you're back where you started. That's what always happened to me. That's what did not work at all, because it would always end up into feeling less than and not happy with myself. So that's what I wanted to avoid at all costs. So if I have a day where I stray from my goals and don't really do what I wanted to, it's not a big deal. It's fine. Life happens. And you just have to go with it, because if you blame yourself, if you're sad about it, you're gonna sabotage. You're not gonna stick to it afterwards either. So just handle it with self-compassion and don't be too hard on yourself. I've also focused on keeping my lifestyle balanced, like incorporating activities that nourish me physically and mentally, like movement that I enjoy, but also meditation and yoga and just things that actually make me happy. If you don't have anything else that makes you happy in life but losing weight and focusing on that, it's going to become your whole life. You're only going to focus on that. So expand your circle, expand your possibilities and everything that you want to do. Don't wait till you lost weight. Don't wait for anything. Do it now. Be happy now and explore things now that you want to do. Buy your clothes now, even though it might not fit you afterwards. Don't say, no, I'm gonna buy it when I lost weight. Your body now deserves the clothes just like the body afterwards. You need to love your body right now, and you need to know that it deserves all of it as well. So by making sure that calorie counting doesn't negatively impact my mental health, I can prioritize balance and my well-being. For me, it's just a tool in a larger toolbox of things that I do for my health. It's not the only thing, because otherwise it gets too obsessive for me. That's what worked for me. I'm just using it as one of many things that are health for me. So this is basically how I balance calorie counting with all of my values of balance, self-care, self-love, and self-compassion. Even though it might seem like it contradicts itself, I blend the two together. I try to take the best thing of both worlds and make it something different for myself. And I just wanted to experiment this for me and see where it guides me and where I'll get with this. And while I've lost 5 kilos with this process, like I said, this channel isn't usually about this. It's more about balance, self-care, self-love, and a healthy mindset. Remember, wellness is about you. It's a personal journey, and you have to find out for yourself what works and what doesn't. I wanted to share my personal experience, so maybe you can get an inspiration on what to do. I'm totally not saying you should not eat intuitively, even though I stopped now fully eating intuitively and following all of the intuitive eating guidelines. By no means I'm saying that you shouldn't eat intuitively, because my bigger goal is still to get to a point where I only eat intuitively. I don't want to calorie count forever. It's not one of my goals that I want to continue doing for the rest of my life. So if you got to this part of the video, you probably enjoyed it. So you might consider subscribing, since there's many more videos on my channel focused on balance and self-care, self-love, and how to integrate it into your life. Thank you for watching, and I really hope that I see you in my next video. Bye!